Hey YouTube, we're doing something a little bit unique this week. Instead of a first play, because our game of the week is something that I've played a lot of over the years, I thought I would instead just teach you how to play the game in case you haven't ever learned. So here you go. Old school classic Windows era video gaming at its best. Let's learn to play Minesweeper together. Way too old to be playing Minecraft. That's why I'm playing Minesweeper. All right, I figured we would do this really simply and just take the excuse of our first play time and do a little tutorial in case you haven't ever played this game. And if you have, maybe it's just a chance for you, like me, to appreciate the simplicity of this game, but some of the enjoyment that you can get out of figuring out the logic puzzles, trying to solve things, but as quickly as you can, and hopefully not blowing up. We'll just take a quick jaunt through the 3 default levels of Minesweeper. We'll play a beginning game, an intermediate game, and an expert game, and hopefully do that in a way that will help you learn how to even play this game if you've never played it before, because maybe you want to play along for the first time ever as part of our retro gaming podcast this week and be part of the community. So here we go. The basic premise is that you get this grid of squares, and in each grid, there is a set of mines that you don't want to click. You click the mine, game over. That's it. You're done. So what you're going to do is you're going to click a button to get started, and that button is going to tell you on all of the adjacent squares how many mines there are. So because we got this little number 1 right here, that means within these 9 squares around it, there is only 1 mine. So we're relatively safe. At this point, we don't really know which one to click, but we have a 1 in 9 chance of failing and otherwise a pretty good odds of clicking something else. So we're going to click. We found another 1. I'll click right over here. Ooh, I'll click right over here. There we go. That's instructive. If you can find a spot where there are no mines at all, the game will automatically open up to fill in any of the space that's adjacent to it with empty mines. So now that we've got a little something on the board here, we can talk about what you can actually do besides clicking, because if you just click, you're going to eventually run into a mine or set some kind of world record, because the people who play this game very quickly often don't even use the markers. But we're going to talk about things that you can mark. You've got the ability to right click something to simply say, I know that there is a mine under that square. You can also click twice if you have the game set up to do that, to help you if you're sort of puzzling out what in the world I'm supposed to do. Could there be a mine here? If there's a mine here, what would that mean for the mine adjacent to it? And so this little marker is just there to help you in case you can't visualize that stuff in your head. Those are both done by right-clicking once or twice. Now, notice that these numbers each still correspond to the number of mines around them. So for example, this number 1 right here has only 1 square next to it in the grid surrounding it. So we know for sure that it's a mine. So I've marked it. Notice now that we know that this is a mine, these 9 squares tell us this one can't be. So I'm going to just reveal it. We can use a similar sort of logic here to say this is a mine, and there's 2 mines here, 1, 2 that have already been clicked. So this one cannot be. That's how the game works. It's relatively straightforward. Notice, we'll just take this all the way through the end of this beginning level. 2 mines within this square, they're already marked, so we can say those 3 are not mines. Notice when I click the empty square, it automatically fills. That logic can continue. We know 1, 2, and then this one already has these 2 marked, so it cannot be this one. In case you missed that, we'll just go through it real quick again on a few of the others. This set of mines right here only has 2 things that are touching it, 1, 2. This one only has 2 mines within its little grid, 1, 2. This one has already been marked, so we know that one's not one. Here, you've got a mine, and you have another one right here, etc. Now, here's where things get a little bit trickier. This one, it could be either one of these. However, because we know one of these is a mine from this 2, 1, 2, this 1 is already fulfilled. We know there's a single mine touching it in one of these 2 spaces. So therefore, this cannot be a mine. Notice, we already know there's a mine right here, which means all of these squares adjacent to this 1 are not going to be mines. In the same way, we know that one's clear. And here, we know that's a mine. This can't be a mine. This is a mine. And boom. We have beaten the beginner level, and we get a little congratulations screen. You can put in your name. It's not showing up on your screen, but that's all it takes. So that's the basics of the game. Let me show you a couple of more advanced options that you might want to do, because that seemed long and slow. And once you've learned this game, you're going to want to go faster at it to set the world record, or at least beat your mom or dad or brother or uncle or whoever it is that you has got you playing this game against them. So let's talk about some options you've got. The primary thing that you're going to do beyond setting mines and then clicking them as you learn this game to get a little bit better at it is you're going to learn to double click a button. So what that does, and by double click, I'm sorry, double click's a bad term. You're not going to click twice. You're going to dual click. You're going to simultaneously press both buttons on your mouse. Some people don't know this option even exists. One click, left click, uncovers a single square. Right click uncover or sets a mine or a marker. Though once you get better at the game, you'll probably turn those markers off so that you don't double click that right and slow yourself down. And then the dual click is going to reveal a whole set of things all at once. I think there's an actual term for this in various versions of the game. I think they call it cording, but people do it differently. In the original classic Minesweeper, here's how it works. If you double click, it's going to try and push every single button or every single square around a square. However, if there aren't any mines marked, it's not going to do anything with that information yet. It's going to say, well, there's one mine here. I'm going to try and unclick all 3, but I don't know which ones are uncovered, so I can't do that. However, if you mark a mine, say we know this one here is a mine, and then you dual click on a mine that has already had the proper number marked, boom, it's going to reveal all of the mines or all of the buttons adjacent to it that are helping you out. So as you're first starting the game, this is the easiest way to get much better at the game, is by using that dual click, 1 to show you which things are in the square, but then 2 to just more quickly uncover any squares that haven't been uncovered. So if you've seen people go fast at this game and you don't know how, it's probably in most cases just because they're using this double click as a kind of nice quality of life feature. Notice that once that gets going, things move a lot more quickly. So we'll clear out this intermediate puzzle relatively quickly and talk a little bit about some of the other things. There's one here, we know it's not that one, that you're going to run into in this game, because there are a few things to consider outside of just, hey, can I, know the buttons and figure out the basic logic. But notice how much more quickly we're just powering through this, almost not even having to think about the logic until we get to somewhere a little trickier, because we're able to reveal all of the squares around that haven't been clicked yet, mark things, and then go on to clear them automatically with that button if you haven't done it yet. So you learned the basics. Now you've learned how to dual click to get a little bit faster. Let's see if in one take we can quickly beat the expert level and There's a chance that we will, and there's a chance that we won't. And that's because one of the things about Minesweeper is that you can't always, I don't know which of these is the best odds here. There's a great example. I died. 1 in 9 chance to hit that button, and I found it. That's how it looks if you don't make it all the way through. There are times, even though your first click is always going to be safe, and honestly, we're just going to click around until we find a good starting spot like that. There are times where you will not have all of the information you need to solve a riddle. It'd be great if the logic worked out so that you could always tell. But sometimes, and especially at these higher level versions of the game, you'll run into a square where you try and logic it out and you're like, well, it could be this or it could be that. Often, you really will just have like a 50-50 chance. Sure, I can click this one or this one, and one of them or the other of them is going to be the right answer. And at that point, just YOLO it. You don't know. The quickest thing that you can do is figure out whether or not you've gotten lucky on that playthrough. I think there's some people who will always do, one certain mine versus another. I don't know if there's any logic internally in the game that says one is the better. But either way, don't overthink it. Don't get too frustrated when that happens. It's part of the game. That moment of frustration where you're just like, why can't it just always make sense? Is not part of how the game was made. So, like this, here's a great example of that. We got, oh no, this one's not one at all. It's an example of me not knowing how the game's logic works as well as I should. It was almost an example for us. We'll see if we can find one, and then we'll suffer together. And if I can come out victorious, awesome. And if I can't, so be it. Let's puzzle a few of these out together. 2, so we know it's one of these two. But this one has 3, so we know this one is a mine, which lets us then unclick that. We know that's not, so on we go. Those are the sort of logic puzzle moments that you're going to learn to be faster and faster at as you play this game and get some enjoyment out of. And learning to process those more quickly is sort of how you become better at Minesweeper. If you're me as a child, though, you set all of the world records on your home computer by going in and just like editing the files so that it looked like you had higher scores than everyone else. That's cheating. We don't condone that around here. I will point out that there are a couple of different ways to play the original old school Minecraft today. If you try and get this on a more modern system, and you get it from the Windows folks, you're going to get a real like ad fest if you download it from the Windows shop. There's a program called Minesweeper X that's a pretty direct clone of the old like XP version of the game that everyone kind of considers the main version of the game. I can't talk and solve at the same time. I should be able to, but I can't. We know it's not that. Okay. And that's the one I would recommend you get and play if you're wanting a smoother version of this old classic gaming experience. Not that great at the game. Okay, here's that moment of truth that we talked about. 50-50 chance. There could be a mine here and not one here. There could be one here and not here. I'm going to just click the open outside space and see. Maybe it's a disaster. We got it. Let's go. And sometimes it's as simple as finding that one little nugget of logic to unblock you from making progress into the rest of the game. Come on now. Oh no, we found another one. 50-50. Do we make it? No! We got so far. I wanted to beat all 3 levels for you. Regardless, I hope that relatively simple explanation of Minesweeper gets you unblocked if you haven't played this game and want to play it before, or if nothing else, watching me play it for the nth time, not the first time, may have been a little bit of entertainment for your afternoon. Regardless, we're going to talk about this game on our podcast this week. You say, How in the world can a retro video game spend an entire episode talking about a game so simple? Tune in to find out. This game's a little bit more interesting than it looks like at a glance. I'm ready to make fun of the boys and how bad they are at this game and show them some of my high scores and just, brag a little bit. And we'll have some interesting conversations about history of this game, some of the logic that these puzzles can sort of represent. Anyhow, it's going to be a great episode. Thanks for sticking with me. Hope you learned something today, or at least joined me in revisiting this old classic game that is so many of us grew up with. If you're my age or older, or just ever had an office job in the early Windows era, yeah, thanks for going on the journey with me. Y'all have a great week. Can't wait to talk about this game together.